All right, now let's build the microservice logic to act as a consumer so that we can pull the events from our topic. Let's open up IntelliJ, and in here, before you saw that we pushed 10 million events into our topic, and this was nothing for Kafka. So let me just basically say 100 here because of time, and I also don't want you guys to wait around. So here, let's just open a project, and within config, let's have a new class. And here I'm going to say Kafka consumer and then config. This will be at and then configuration. And within here, so this will basically follow the exact same thing that the producer had. So let's just basically copy some code. So let's just take all of this, Command C, go back, paste that in. And to be fair, we could have made this right here a bean so that we can reuse and make it more generic. But at this point, let's just copy and paste. So consumer and then config. And let me put this full screen. And in here, let me just scroll down. And the only thing that changes really is that instead of the producer factory, so before, have a look, we have producer factory. Now we want the consumer factory. So this will be consumer and then factory, just like that. And this will be consumer config. And if I take this, Command C, and let's just paste it here. And also this is consumer. And you can see that it works. So let me just import and job done. Now, the next thing that I need to do is in here, I need to specify the listener container factory. So this will be public and then Kafka listener container factory. And this listener here receives all messages from all topics or partitions on a single thread. So let's just say that we want this to be a concurrent message listener container. And the key for this will be string as well as string. So remember, this is what we are working with. And if I put this, let's just see if I can put this on a new line, even though this is ugly. And that's because my font is quite big. And have a look at the method. So I'm just going to say factory in here and put it on the same line here. And inside now, I'm going to say concurrent Kafka listener container and then factory. And you can see I'm using keyboard shortcut there. And I don't have to remember this long class. So here I'm going to say string and then string. And I'm going to say that this is factory. And this will be equal to new concurrent Kafka listen container factory. Just like that. I want to set the consumer factory. And this will be consumer factory. And in fact, because this is a bean in here, we could just use dependency injection in here. So again, this is really ugly code, so excuse me. And this is only because my font is quite big. So let me just paste that in and just like that. So this is the argument, and now I can just pass it like that. And there we go. Now the last thing that I need to do is return and then the factory and job done. Now let me just scroll up and see if everything is looking good. And I've actually noticed that this should be consumer config instead of producer config. So let's just change this, consumer and then config, and let's just import that. And also instead of serializer, so on this side we want to deserialize. So let me just select here, Control G, and then deserialize, just like that. And I think this should be it. If I press escape, and to recap, the producer uses a string to serialize for the key, as well as for the value. And the consumer basically has to deserialize using the same data types. Later, we'll change this for a custom object, but for now, this should be good to go. Next, let's go ahead and write the code that allows us to consume events from our topic.